This MFL MarMac Coach Conversation brought to you by Havlicek Trucking, Meyer Auto Service, and Birdnow Chevrolet. Head Coach Dan Anderson joining us. And Dan, happy week last week for you. 43-0 win over Applington Parkersburg. I look at the stat sheet and I think of the word workmanlike. Would you agree with that assessment?
Yeah, I would. We had two different ball carriers over 100-yard rushing. Quinn McGee had, I think, 216 yards rushing. Eli Hansen had 112. And we had multiple other guys carry the ball, kind of like the week before. And thought Stoddard did a good job. Stoddard, our quarterback. It's a first-year quarterback. He's a senior, but we don't really have too many guys in our program that are upperclassmen that have played quarterback, and so he's been a back or a receiver his whole career, and we've really been happy with the way he's been playing at quarterback for us. Just leading the team, and he's very calm and composed back there in the pocket, and we did what we wanted to do, and I thought our kids handled the homecoming week well.
And defensively, pitching a shutout, never a bad thing. You only gave up 160 total yards, and you also took the ball away twice from AP. What made your defense click last week?
Oh, just keep it simple. There were certain things we saw on film that that we could key on, and I thought our guys really did a good job of communication. AP does a sugar huddle, so they break their huddle and sprint up to the line, and they don't get set for barely a second, and so it's hard to make adjustments. And they were going end over a few times and tackle over, trying to get the advantage. And I was really impressed with our guys. Seeing those things in a split second and being able to make the quick adjustment that we had practiced, in all week in practice long, and the guys caught it. I was worried that we wouldn't catch it in time, and they did, and they made the right adjustments. And we took away some of their plays they wanted to run out of their unbalanced sets. So, good communication. The kids they're starting to get more comfortable in their positions. Like I said, we had nine new starters on defense this year, and they're starting to get more comfortable at their positions. And that's what you expect, though. We're halfway through the regular season already, but I'm very impressed and very happy with the way they're playing defense and swarming the ball. We had a lot of assists, so that means you have a lot of people running to the ball, and we drill that all the time, and we do pursuit drills a lot, and we try to get a lot of hats around the ball. And then when there's a lot of hats around the ball, then you get the turnovers because there's more guys punching and at the ball and ripping at the ball, and if you have 6-8 guys, if the ball does pop out, you have a good chance of falling on it.
You're halfway through the season, as you mentioned. When it comes to assessing the team at the midway point, what area have you grown the most since you started the season? What area would you like to see the most growth in the second half of the season?
Well, I think we made a lot of growth. We've got some new backs and new skill guys. The receivers and backs, and the last 2 weeks, we've really seen our backs really running hard, running angry, and I was really impressed. And, it seemed like during the game against AP in the huddle, if there was a timeout or something, if I praised one of the backs about how hard he was running, I kind of looked at the other ones, and, they kind of gave me that glare, like, I'll show you, Anderson, and they did. I mean, there was 3 consecutive plays against AP where it was our running back, then our fullback, then our wing back carried the ball, and it was probably the 3 hardest runs that they all had, and they were consecutive runs, and none of them were for touchdowns, but they all got considerable yards, and it was just amazing. And I think those guys were feeding off each other, and they wanted to outdo each other, and they're a very competitive bunch. So I'm very impressed with that. So I'm impressed with our backs and how hard they're running, and our skill guys, how they're developing. You said where do we still have to make our improvements? Communication. It still needs to be better. If a team is going to blitz or something like that, we have to make sure we're point talk, communicate. And our line's pretty veteran. They're a pretty good job of that. But, unless we run for a touchdown every play, there's always room for improvement there. But throwing the ball, we still have to improve there. But we have been getting better. We don't throw the ball a lot. We haven't had to the last couple of weeks when you're averaging over 10 yards a carry. But we still need to throw the ball a little bit better, more consistently. But I really thought our pass protection was really good the last 2 weeks. We did have time to throw the ball. We just have to make sure, we run our routes a little sharper, make our breaks a little bit faster, and maybe get rid of the ball just a hair quicker. But I'm very pleased overall, where we're at this point in the season.
You talked about your backs running angry. How do you instill that mindset?
Well, Coach McGee, Quinn's dad is on the coaching staff, and I know he's always on those guys over and over and over in practice, working with those guys. And so is Coach Gordon about running low and running hard, and they're going through the blaster, all the time. And but they're a competitive bunch. I mean, some of that is technique, but some of it's just the fact that if one of them is getting praised, then I think the others maybe think that they're not doing as good a job, and they're competitive. They want to prove that they run just as hard, and so hopefully we continue to see that because we didn't see, our backs ran hard, but not as hard as in the first couple of weeks. But I've seen them really pick up their game the last 2 weeks, and I think they're just because they're such a competitive bunch. They've got it in them. It's just they got to understand that they try to make the first guy miss and then punish the next 2 to 3 guys, and those guys are really starting to buy into that philosophy.
Back on the road this week as you travel to Sumner Fredericksburg, a team that's 2-2 right now. What are you expecting out of Sumner Fred come Friday night?
Well, it's a huge rivalry, Darren. It's on our schedule, it's a team that we always look forward to playing. It can't be a rivalry if you win every time. And the last 5 meetings, I think we've won 3 and lost 2, and they beat us last year at homecoming 13-9. And it's always a slugfest. Coach Coyle, the head coach down there, and Dan Leith, their D coordinator, do such a great job down there with their program. And they run their program a lot like I think we run our program. They hold their kids accountable. The kids work extremely hard. They play hard. They play for each other, and they run the option. And you have to have sound football. You have to know your assignment when you run against a team that runs option. They've got some outstanding athletes down there too. They made it to the state quarterfinals last year, and they've got several of those guys back on that team. They've got Nuss, their quarterback. He's extremely fast and runs the option well. They got Henderson, who's an all-state football player at running back. He's big, strong, tough linebacker. He does it all for him. He punts, he kicks, does everything for him. They've got one of their linebackers, their spark plug, number 22, Land. He's like a blocking back for them. And he's a middle linebacker, and he is just tough, and he's a rah-rah guy. You can see on film, he gets everybody fired up. And then they've got a 4-year starter on the O-line and D-line and Hunt, and a couple other tackles that are big physical kids. So they've got a really good nucleus to work with, and it's going to be a real challenge for us. But we're looking forward to it because our kids, weren't real happy to lose last year at homecoming. So our kids are looking forward to getting a chance to play them again.
All right, Coach, hopefully you can keep the positivity continuing, keep your guys healthy. We wish you best of luck.
All right, thanks, Darren.
Dan Anderson, head coach of the MFL MarMac Bulldogs, brought to you by Havlicek Trucking, Meyer Auto Service, and Birdnow Chevrolet.